First video of the new year here. My goal last year was to get somewhat more consistent on videos. So from about August to the end of the year, set some goals. We ended up getting a video out every other Wednesday for the last 5 months. So that was pretty awesome. I'd like to be able to get out videos weekly, but it is a little difficult with trying to make progress on this. Not only progress, but quality progress, and then trying to make a complete video of an entire project rather than just doing something and not finishing it in that video. And then having somewhat of a decent production of the video in the end. So it's a lot of work just to even put together a 20-minute video. So appreciate everyone that watched last year. We also built a ton of stuff. Not just the car in itself, built this giant chassis table, which was a major feat and proved to be a solid investment all the way around. Built this workbench here, which was a great investment and an idea. I'll pat myself on the back for that one. Pretty happy with how this turned out. Also did a lot to the Duster last year. Some stuff I've been wanting to do for a while. So trying to keep a happy medium and nice balance between this and the other car. Really wish I could have them both under the same roof side by side, because that, one, just to see that would be awesome, and two, to be able to work on them simultaneously would be pretty nice as well, but that's all right, we'll get there one day. Last video, I wrapped up all the rear sheet metal. I didn't weld anything on, but I got everything fitted and set in place. That was another goal I wanted to finish before the end of the year. That was going to be obtainable, but like 2 or 3 weeks out, I was starting to get nervous because I didn't plan on rebuilding the entirety of the rear roof structure, basically. I knew I was gonna have to do some work, but I didn't think it was gonna take as long as it did, and that's just part of learning while also filming this. And like I said, once again, trying to do quality work, it takes like 10 times as long as it normally should, rather than just, you know, slapping a piece of metal together and calling it a day. So it may not be, you know, huge visible progress, but the peace of mind knowing that that is solid and damn near perfect underneath is pretty nice. And also in the video of me building the rear lower window channel on Instagram got like 1.5 million views. So that in itself, I think made up for the many hours I had into just those pieces alone. How that happened, I don't know, but that was pretty nice. But now that the car looks like a car again and is, well, what's left of the shell itself is closing in on completion there, it's time to start modifying some of these factory designed pieces the way that I've had envisioned for over a year, when I had some renderings done for it and things that I've been thinking of, mainly because I'm being slightly impatient, and I also just want to like start seeing some of these pieces come together. Because this is basically the step I would be at if I just bought a blank Charger shell that was complete, but I don't have, you know, $30,000 to spend on that. So it may have worked out in my favor in the end, but step one to this is going to be the tail panel. A lot of people like the 68 Charger tail panels more than the 69 and 70 because of the round tail lights on it. Personally, I've always liked the 69 and 70 taillights better. I think they fit the car better because minus the wheels and the headlights, there's nothing circular about these cars. It's a very boxy style. Yes, it has the Coke bottle design on the side, but you kind of get what I'm saying, right? They're very square, they're very boxy, they're big cars. So I've always thought the 68 taillights like kind of looked out of place. I don't like dislike them or hate them or anything. I just personally like the 69 70 taillights better. Now obviously on a 69 Charger, the grille has that split in the middle, so the taillights kind of complement that because they are split into 2 pieces as well. Whereas on the 70, we have the big wide open grille with the chrome bumper around it, and then the 70 taillights kind of have this panel that sits over the top of them, and from a far distance, like 5-10 feet away, it almost looks like it's one big taillight going across, kind of like a modern Charger. So I've always thought it would be a cool idea to actually make that one solid taillight. I haven't seen someone do that yet. I mean, someone could have, I just haven't seen any. So that's what we're gonna be doing with the tail panel here. And just thinking about it over the past few weeks, so I've been working on other things. It's going to be a much bigger project than I anticipated, as is everything. So I'll get into that once I start getting the tail panel off, bring it up on the bench. But some inspiration for this piece goes to a couple different things. The Ford Capri that Holy Hall built has a really cool streamlined thin taillight that kind of wraps around the rear end. I really like that look. The whole thing on the Charger here will not be a taillight. It's just going to be the outline of it. And then the center will be open, kind of a similar and kind of inspired by the Ruffian Galaxy, where the tail panel in that car is open in the back. And then I think like the oil cooler and the trans cooler maybe are behind there. It's basically like a vent to allow that to air out. So combining all three of those things and some either good or bad ideas up here, we're gonna make this all into something. And based upon my visual dreams, it should look pretty good. Like I said, got ourselves a brand new 70 Charger rear tail panel from my favorite folks over at AMD there. And I know most of you diehard Mopar fans will not like what I'm going to be doing here, but in the nicest way possible. Get used to it, I guess, because there's gonna be a lot of changes with this car. We'll get more into that once I start actually doing it, but this is the first step in getting there. Original thought was I'd basically just be able to cut, you know, this bottom line right here, cut this, make some pieces, weld it all together. And then I was looking at it pretty in depth the other day, and the way that these factory style taillight brackets go on here, as you can see, they're spot welded over this lip. And if I were to do that, it would still leave this lip right here. And for what I'm going for the look of this, is basically a 3/4 to maybe like an inch bar that will go all the way around the tail light here. Basically be a halo around this entire shape, and then the center section will be open. I'm going to set the tail light probably back in here, just for a cool look. So with that being said, if that is sitting back there, you'd still be able to see this pinch weld with this lip right there. The plan is to go through, drill out all these spot welds, take these factory style taillight braces off. I'll go through, cut this center section out, and then I'll have to make a giant piece that basically goes all the way across from here. It'll wrap around, it'll go all the way across on the bottom. So that way when you're looking at it from here, it'll look like a clean, simple piece, like it's all made of one piece. Obviously, I got the bulk of the taillight panel cut out. Right now, I'm working on getting that line across the top perfectly level. So went through, leveled out the chassis table, got the tail panel mounted back to the quarters, and the little brace piece I made on the back here. Gonna try to get that line as close as I can to just kind of the point, basically where this stops, because this top line does go up on an angle. I want it to be perfectly straight across. It'll be a minor difference, but you can see the gap over here is much smaller opposed to the gap on the end there. So I think that'll look pretty nice once it's all said and done. Get this marked out, get that trimmed, and then I got to go through and make sure this point between the top of this radius and the top of that radius is level as well. So once I get both of those done, I'll be looking pretty good. Start measuring out and making the actual piece that will hold the taillight itself. As you guys can see, I got the remaining bits of the AMD tail panel all dialed in. I got this piece completely trimmed out where it needs to be. Corners, radius, both sides match. Went ahead, made myself a little patch piece for this. Hammer dolly worked that. Got the backside looking dialed too, so pretty happy with how that turned out. Now it is time to move on to arguably the trickiest part of this whole piece, which is going to be making the housing for the taillight itself. Is going to be this shape all the way across right here, and it's going to be about 3 inches back. It may end up being at about 2.5 when I have to trim it, but I got these pieces made in 3-inch strips just ahead of time in case I need to make it any shorter. Now, ideally, you would be making this piece on either an English wheel or a slip roll or a planishing hammer, something along the lines of that. I don't have any of that. So we're going to do this kind of the old school way here, which I think should work. This top piece is going to be pretty simple. It's got a nice bow in it. It's a very minimal bow, but it follows this line that goes across the top, so it shouldn't be too difficult to put some shape into that top piece. These corners are going to be the trickiest pieces, because obviously you can just bend this, on a corner or around something to create like a half circle. As you guys can see, that is neither of those shapes there. This has a couple different angles in it, straight piece, pretty much a 90 here, and then a really odd angle right there, which is close to a 45. So that's why I got these pieces made longer than they need to be, because I figured I could put some shape into that, trim that off once it's all done. And then same thing with the bottom piece here. It is a straight piece across, and then we got these dips down, and then this is just a straight piece across here as well. So it's gonna take some time to get all these dialed in, but I'm hoping today can at least make some solid progress on that. So just gonna time lapse the whole thing here. That way you guys can see how I'm going to attempt to make all this, and we'll see how it turns out in the end. Got a pretty big update to give you guys here, and a pretty big mess behind me, but this taillight panel is starting to look like something, so that's pretty exciting seeing this all come together. I changed direction from my original plan. I thought I was going to make this whole kind of surrounded piece as one piece and then weld it up to the existing panel. This ended up being a little bit easier, and I think it worked out in my favor. I'll explain why here really quick. Started off with the top piece getting welded on, which I don't know why for the life of me I could not tack that together. It was very frustrating, but went out, sat in the truck for like 20 minutes, warmed up, and I decided to come back and just knock it out there. Could not end the night off on frustration because that'll just bother me for the next day. I know because it's happened plenty of times before. I'll just be sitting in class, that's all I could think about. At work, that's all I could think about. So wanted to end that off on a good note the other night. Today I went through and got this bottom piece all the way welded on. Decided to do that one on the car. That way the quarters and my fixture here will hold everything solid in place, and I can focus on making sure this is level this way as well as level that way, because it may just look like a pretty simple piece, but you have an angle coming here, an angle coming there on that side. Obviously this comes up, this has to match that angle and that radius on that side, so there's a lot to it. It's more than just welding it together and hoping for the best. All in all, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I got a little dip in the center from a little too much heat right here, but I should be able to bend that out. And then there's a kink somewhere, yep, right here, that got there for some reason. So just hammer and dolly that, and we should be pretty dialed. You probably caught a quick glimpse of it on the car there itself, but I started making the corner pieces as well, which by far some of the hardest pieces I've had to make, especially doing this all by hand, like I said at the beginning of this video. This one right here is the correct shape. I'm just an idiot and accidentally trimmed the wrong side off here. I was trying to trim just a little bit off the top, and I guess I had a mark on the bottom, and I just was, I don't know, in the zone. Took the square to it, drew the line, cut it off. I don't know how I didn't catch that because I only had to trim not even half this distance off the top there. So I may end up using this piece for the driver's side if I just weld that back on there, because like I said, this angle is pretty dialed. Or I have my test piece here, which the angle isn't totally dialed, so I may tweak that. If I can't get this perfect, I think I'll go through and just weld this back up. I don't want to have to do that, but we'll kind of see how it plays out. Back to the piece on the car though, this side is turning out very good. Really happy with how this is turning out. It's pretty much set to get tacked in place. I just got to go through, prep this real quick. That'll be good. Do a little bit of trimming once that's tacked in place, but all in all, super happy with that. Once that's fully welded on, I'll go through, I'll take the square, I'll line this up, I'll just trim off the end right there. That'll be looking dialed. So like I said, that was probably one of the hardest pieces to make, because not only do you have a crazy angle going this way, you have to match that to the other side as well. So just back and forth, bending that, matching it up with the template. Then you also have this crazy angle this way. So in order to get that, I got one of these things here. You can get these for like $10, I think, at Menards is what I paid for this. I think I even paid like $8, I can't remember. But I saw this the other day and I was like, you know, this might work good for this taillight piece here. So picked one up, just took that to the back of the panel like so. That gave me the shape. Went ahead, made a cardboard template of that, just laid that over the piece after I had it bent out that way. Trimmed it up and it worked out pretty well. I'd say we're maybe 50% done with this taillight panel. It may seem like a little bit more because those big pieces are fully welded in, but I still have to make this other corner. Still got to weld that corner in. Got to go through, hammer dolly a couple spots, make sure everything's dialed, and then metal work and metal finish everything. So looking pretty decent, but that is going to wrap it up for this video. I decided to split this one into 2 parts just so I could get 2 videos out. Try to get them up within back-to-back weeks here. That'd be pretty nice to start off the year. Let me know what you guys think though. Would you rather see more consecutive videos like this where I kind of break up projects, show you what I do within a week, and then we'll put a video out on the weekend? Or would you rather see everything in one video, start to end on a project like I've been doing for the past 6 months? We were able to get out videos bi-weekly for the past 6 months, and I think that worked out pretty well, but I don't know, we'll try something different here, try to be a little more consistent. So that's my goal for that. Appreciate everyone for watching, everyone that has been watching. Pretty excited to start seeing this thing take shape.